that will be the drivers behind the upcoming budget development process, which we will be kicking off in January. These are in draft form. They've been initially vetted through the Finance and Audit Committee and prioritized by them, but your comments are welcome as we go through this information. So as we started this process, we thought about growth and improving the customer experience. So as you know, as the region grows, it's expected to triple by 2040. Congestion is expected to triple, and the region needs TriMet to grow and improve transit more than ever. And while we were looking at growth, we want to look for every opportunity to improve the customer experience. Another goal was our mission statement. TriMet's mission is to provide valued transit service that's safe, dependable, and easy to use. That remains the underlying focus of our work. So with these in mind, here are the proposed budget themes. First, safety. Safety is core value for TriMet. Safety and Security Division is responsible for leading the entire TriMet organization in creating and maintaining a culture of safety and service excellence in which safety is the fundamental value. Priorities in the next year will be to implement a safety management plan, train employees on that plan, and support and implement the work of our continuous improvement teams. Next is implementing service enhancement plans, and this work has already begun to make the best use of the new payroll tax, estimated to be 4.6 annually, to TriMet. Next is maintaining and preserving the system, and this is to ensure safe and reliable service. These priorities, by the way, are very, very interactive and very involved with each other. You'll see this come up again in just a moment. But safe and reliable service is at the forefront of our daily operations, and limited resources do require us to find the right balance between service and capital investments. Next, improving system reliability. To make certain we're delivering a high-quality product for TriMet riders, the service has to be dependable, or they'll look for another way to get to work or wherever they're going. Factors that contribute to ensuring reliable service and improving the customer experience include infrastructure upgrades, operator training, and enhanced transit traffic management coupled with new technology. Building ridership is next. Ridership, of course, is a key indicator of success. Without riders, we are nothing. Peak ridership continues to show growth, but more can be done to boost the off-peak ridership. As gas prices continue to decline, it's important to find ways to attract new riders and encourage current riders to use the system more often. Improving on-time performance and the adoption of an electronic fare system are examples of investments that can build ridership. It will make the system more dependable, easy to use, and fun. Advancing regional corridor projects is next. We'll partner with cities, counties, metro, ODOT, neighborhoods, businesses, other stakeholders to advance solutions for meeting the needs for mobility, access, and development in key corridors identified by the region. As you know, work has begun on Powel-Division and Southwest Corridors. Funding capacity will be a major determinant of the region's potential success, along with the inclusive and effective planning to prioritize investments, ensure they achieve their desired outcomes. I'm going to skip this next slide and go right to the list. This is the summary of the budget themes. They are prioritized in the order. First, staff developed the budget themes, and then it was vetted by Finance and Audit, and there were some changes that were made in the order, but I'd like to offer them up now for discussion. These are still in draft form, so if there are any changes, this would be a good time.
I just want to give the board a little bit more background. The importance of budget themes is it does kind of set the stage for the budget, and to identify those at this time is important because staff are beginning to put together their budget requests for next year, and the development process of that is going through. And this gives staff a clear idea of those things of concern to the board, so that and things that we'll be looking for in the budget when it's presented to us, to see how well we are addressing these issues. One of the things I always like to caution people to be careful about is just because we've identified these 6 items as budget themes does not mean that the other work of the agency is of lesser importance or can be shortchanged, if you will, to divert resources. It is, the ongoing work of the agency has to continue, but and will continue. It's what we are saying here is that these are things that we want to pay particular attention to, and as you can see, safety is kind of the overriding issue of the agency to make sure that we provide a safe environment for our customers and our employees. These other items that we've listed really are looking at how we can improve our service, extend our service, and continue to position the agency to meet the challenges of the next several years, and particularly with the Climate Smart Communities Plan that has been adopted by Metro for the region, which is relying very heavily on enhanced transit opportunities and services. These things are very important to get us to that point. So this is an opportunity for us on the board to discuss these items, see if there's anything that we need to change. So we have had a discussion at the Finance and Audit Committee. We did play with the order of this to reflect a priority between the items. So if we want to add anything, delete anything, change the order, this is an opportunity to do so.
Thank you, and this will give us, the entire district, a focus for the budget. If something comes to us that's in the finance department that's totally, basically not related to any one of these, certainly that's not going to make it into the final budget for your consideration. I'm saying that if, for example, we have an item that comes in where you can't draw a nexus for the expenditure, if one of the executives were to propose a program for consideration that had nothing to do with any one of our themes or priorities, then that one would be very difficult for us to put forward. Of course, we would take it to the general manager for consideration first, but generally, we have to draw a nexus to each of these in order, and these are pretty all-encompassing. They cover a broad range of focus areas for the district. It would be hard to come up with something that we could not relate to one of these, but it just does give us, it enhances our focus on what we are requesting through the budget process.
So what are we missing here? What is the staff?
I don't know yet. I mean, I just read this, so.
Okay. All right.
And.
So
but
you will have time.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Budget will be developed
Right.
over the next few months. But
That's
I think
right.
you would like to get some guidance to make sure we're heading the right way.
That's right. Every year we do put forward a summary list of priorities, and this is something that the board weighs in on, and it's, again, it just provides us with just a broad parameter within which to develop the budget.
Okay.
I was just going to comment that, I agree from looking at this, these all are interconnected. It's hard to pull any one out. Building ridership in particular sounds like it's kind of part of all of the other elements.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree.
One quick comment, then, Mr. President. On the whole issue of improving our services and reliability, is there any, you don't have to answer this now, but along the way, we'll get some kind of update on what's happening with the steel bridge?
Yes. Matter of fact, Mr. Nelson could provide that as part of his swan song here to you in a few moments.
Okay.
Is it good news?
Are you on a motion?
No, I'm not, we don't need a motion.
Or
This
just a
is really
consensus?
discussion, it's consensus, and to
I'm
gain the comments of the whole board, because we have vetted this with the Finance and Audit Committee. So,
Yeah, I think this is a good start and if you see something else also that we're missing, but I think you're right, we can drive a bus through most of those and no pun intended. And I think that this is a good start, and I think the priorities are good, especially with safety right at the very top, which will help us in every one of those. So
Thank
you got
you.
what you need, I think. All right. So did you want to have Bob come up then? And
Yes. And, just to Dr. Bethel's question, we also have proposed, related to this whole reliability initiative, some studies upcoming in the next year about the whole Steel Bridge area and what we can do to improve our service through that area, which is clearly one of the critical junctions, as well as Gateway. That's the other area that similarly has a lot of complexity to it. But I'll let Bob respond to that question and give you a report on the overall service quality indicators.
I think we can talk a little bit about the Steel Bridge in just a moment. Just by way of background for our new board members, in 2013, the general manager set forth direction that our operating model would largely be built upon a model of continuous improvement, and that we would view that in three kind of buckets. First, how do we improve our vehicle and system reliability? How do we improve overall service delivery? And then how do we think about operator support? That is in your packet does have that third quarter report. And I'm not going to touch on the details of that, but try and hit it a little bit higher level. And within each of those key performance indicators, we measure those this quarter versus the same quarter of the prior year. There are a number of continuous improvement teams in place. You just saw a slide that referred to safety, continuous improvement, and those are pretty vibrant. This is a management philosophical operating concept that is uneven in the agency because we've birthed it, but it's slow to grow, but growing. So I'm really pleased, as Neil said earlier, with our new COO, Doug Kelsey, who's got a very good background in this and can help us get this thing really formulated. With regard to the third quarter, this is calendar quarter, July, August, September. The bus system operated overall very well. And I'd like to point out that since 2012, we have around 250 buses procured since 2012. That's about 45% of the fleet is relatively new. We're beginning to see the return on investment with that fleet. The reliability of the bus fleet overall, largely due to the infusion of those new vehicles, has improved dramatically, and the third quarter results represent that. So that our miles between mechanical breakdowns that cause service disruptions is increasing nicely, as high as we've seen in a long time in this agency. So I think the key performance indicators on the bus side overall moved fairly well. Some stayed steady, but some moved. We're seeing some improvement in reliability and improvement in the overall customer service aspects of bus transportation. Now, the rail service delivery and the reliability of our rail system declined in the third quarter. And this is why it's not only has been an initiative, it was cited in the financial overview, and the general manager's made it very clear that this is like core to our business. We've got to get a reliable system there, especially on the rail side of it. Now, the third quarter was really the acceleration of the ramp up to and the opening of the Orange Line, which opened in September, the last month of the third quarter. And it's interesting to note that the operational ramp up is done by the same people who deliver service every day. So there's an extreme burden on our maintenance and transportation departments to deliver daily service. We say move a city every day, while at the same time training all of our employees. Every frontline employee in the agency had to go through training. All of our bus operators, our car maintainers, the people who maintain our rail right-of-way, our facilities, our communications, our rail operators, all that had to go on. We had to in service 18 new light rail vehicles while trying to maintain preventive maintenance on the existing fleet. there's tension there. In addition, we are still going on the retrofit of the older fleet to achieve compatibility with the new fleet, and it's complex. So our overhaul program had to be suspended for a little while during that period. We're back on it now. We also had to take a little bit of attention off daily preventive maintenance to focus on the new cars, and now we're coming back to that. So some of that's reflected in the loss of reliability. I think, though, that it's kind of apt to think about this as growing pains. We are not the same agency we were 5 years ago. We have, just on the bus operator side, since 2012, hired 750 new bus operators in 4 years. Many of those are now rail operators who have to learn. So we have a lot of new rail operators. We have a lot of new rail controllers, the people that actually direct the movement of the trains. And as Neil and I heard from one of the general manager's award winners, a light rail operator who works out of Elmonica, who's exceptional, over 90% on-time performance, he told us that it took him about 5 years to really understand how to move that train along safely, but efficiently. You know, it's like the UCLA coach, John Wooden, said, be quick, but don't hurry. Right? And there's a nuance there, right? And that's true with a good bus operator as well. So we are having this little bit of growing pain kind of stuff. Now, we've got a lot of things going on. The continuous improvement teams are really trying to dig at that with this notion of root cause. What is at the bottom of our problem? And what can we do to eliminate it? In that regard, we do have going on right now a core capacity study of the alignment. That's looking at infrastructure constraints or other operating constraints that are restricting the timely movement of vehicles. What are those things? And we hope to be able to get some federal funding to help us mitigate that stuff. We're going to take an outside look at our control of trains, our rail transportation, how we supervise in the field. We're doing it essentially like we did a while ago, but we're a little bit bigger now. Now, with respect to the steel bridge, we'll be coming to you, I think in January, might be February, with a comprehensive contract to examine the steel bridge. What are its constraints? What mitigations are possible? Should we add 2 more sets of track across the bridge? Is there some major modification of the bridge? It is a choke point for us, as is Gateway, as is Rose Quarter leading into the steel bridge. So these are infrastructure things, but there's still the people side of our business. And how do we assist our people in better training, better understanding of the schedule? How do we refine our schedule? Part of our problem in the third quarter, after opening up the orange line, which is, part of the yellow line, or I should say the yellow line and orange line run together, we had to write that schedule based on a computerized model because the system wasn't built yet. And we were off a little bit. So in December, last Sunday, as a matter of fact, we revised that schedule, adding some minutes of running time, as we call it, to allow the operator a better chance of hitting their time points on time. Unfortunately, the last 2 days of operation, because of the weather, we can't tell whether we did anything right or not. So, well, when it gets a little bit better, we'll be able to look at that, and we'll make adjustments. The thing that has to happen really over the next several months is taking all of these individual buckets of analysis, core capacity, control center, steel bridge, all the inputs from the continuous improvement teams, and synthesize them into an actionable work plan. There's layers of complexity here, but we think we have a notion of it, but it's going to require a lot of work. We really need to get the rail system moving better than it is. We have we see some fragility in it. Sometimes a single incident can wreak havoc across the alignment, and it starts stalling out trains, right? And that's inevitable. It's going to happen from time to time. But we can't sit on our hands and just say that's okay. How do we mitigate? How do we get disabled cars off the alignment quickly? How do we safely remove passengers from disabled vehicles? How do we troubleshoot a vehicle in revenue service expertly? And that's difficult because we have 5 different fleets of vehicles. There's some similarities between them, but there are significant differences among them, I should say. So that's the plan, and I'd be happy to have any comments or questions.
Comments, questions? Again, Bob, thanks for what you've done for the agency for the last 2.5 years.
Well, thank you.
Greatly
Appreciate it.
It feels to me like we have made some continuous improvement in a whole bunch of areas.
Yes, yes.
And we're better, I think, clearly now than we were 5 years ago in many ways. It is wonderful to see the fleet of our buses, the age reduced dramatically by the acquisition of the new buses. Can't say enough about that. And I'm pleased that it's actually showing up in the bottom line in terms of the
Exactly,
of
yeah.
the system reliability, which is what we're all shooting for.
Right.
I think all of us are worried about the steel bridge. There's no question about that bridge. It's how old is that bridge?
100 and something.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's a worrisome. It's one of the many bridges that are approaching that same age across the Willamette River that we have to deal with. So I think we're in a good trajectory of where we're going. Look forward to seeing how we move forward in some of these other areas. But it's good to see the improvements we've made, and safety has been a very critical area. And I know you've spent a lot of time working on safety at the organization, and that also shows. And I think involving the operators in the safety discussions and in the operational discussions that we've had, because we can't do without them, has just been masterful from the very beginning. So again, hats off to you and the team that have been working on this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I do just have two things. Do you need more people?
You know, we're.
I mean, as a board member, and it just popped in, you know, because they want to, you know, as you know, we want a happy public and we want to have the reliability, and if it's going to take some more warm bodies, maybe we can look at that.
I think, Director Esmond, we're well-staffed against budget. As I've reported in some earlier briefings, we are short on some of the maintenance side, but not in the FTE. We just don't have them through their apprenticeship certification yet, because it takes a while. But that's been happening. And in February, we should kick another dozen or so car maintainers out of the apprenticeship program. That'll be a big help.
Yeah.
We've been gradually adding to our maintenance right-of-way folks, signal maintainers, track. Neil's approved some budget increases over the last 2 years in track and signals, and it's making a difference. We will soon be fully staffed 24/7 on our key disciplines, which we haven't been really since our inception.
Well,
so that's important.
It's been a budget, yeah. And when you're out there looking on the steel bridge, if you find a pair of pliers on top of the east tower,
Okay.
they probably have my initials engraved in it. So I've been looking for them when I worked up there.
All right. We should mention, too, that we're opening up a satellite maintenance right-of-way facility in Rose Quarter, which will be staffed shortly, which will get some of our key disciplines reporting and working out of there. So in terms of response and recovery, a much quicker opportunity there.
Good. Thanks. Thanks, Bob.
Anything else? All right, I think we're done for the day. Thank you very much for an informative session and an interesting session. That's right, same to you.
Same to everyone.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.